Welcome to God's Way, YTVY. I'm Adolphina, Shephard, and this is my co-host Thomas Knight, Templar.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our show.
And I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, okay, because the holiday is just past, and we're in that month, and I'm wearing my nice red heart just for Valentine's Day.
It was the season of love.
That's right. And as usual, we have a great show planned for you this evening. We have two wonderful guests, both who pretty much specialize in working with the elementals and the nature kingdom and the fairies. So you might say you're going to learn all about them tonight. So let's go to our first guest, Shelley
Shayner.
Shayner. And Shelley does a lot of things with the nature and various elements, so I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself.
I'm an author, artist, and intuitive. I do a lot of different things, and one of them is to connect to the elementals and nature spirits. I believe there's a spirit in all things, and nature being one of them. I'm also an artist. I like to write books. I like to help people out any way I can. A lot of them is to educate them. So I teach classes about symbolism, dreams. I recently been teaching a fairy art class, and that's been a lot of fun for kids.
Oh, I bet. I bet. And that's a good way to introduce to the kids, because, you know, they all believe in fairies.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's only when you get older our parents talk us out of believing in them.
Because they put it in a book, you're reading it in a school, you see a little fairy in the forest is doing this with a wand and gives somebody free wishes and all of this stuff. And it's like enchantment to them, but they don't realize that there's an element of truth in that they are there.
Oh, yeah. And
You know what I mean? They've been fantasized and glorified by authors, you know, for the entertainment of children, but it is based in fact.
You know, I once had an experience where I was lecturing and the audience was in a circle and there was a huge fairy behind me mocking me. So they're not all just fun and games. He was making faces and doing things behind my back, and people were laughing. And I'm like, what's going on here? Why is everybody laughing? They said there's a fairy behind you mocking you. Oh boy, but anyway, let me go to our second fabulous guest who channels the fairies too, and this is Michelle Bassett.
Yes, hello everybody, and my name is Michelle Bassett. I am a psychic medium. I work right alongside the fairies. Just like she said, there is fairy energy and everything. You know, when, like you guys were saying, when I was young, I so believed in it, and I was just so open and free, and society had me shut it down. And one of the things that when I reawakened, that I learned that every blade of grass has an angel, or an earth angel, or I like to call them fairies, standing over it and just whispering grow. And that was just one of the most touching things to me. And yes, I do classes, I talk, I'm just all over the place like fairies typically are, and I just try to make sure that I have a ton of fun and spread fun everywhere that I go.
Now, don't you have a radio show with, what's her name, Max?
Yes. So we have a podcast on Best Psychic Source, where every Thursday morning we talk about many different things, just how you were opening with love. We were talking about, you know, helping people find love, because, you know, the day after Valentine's Day, everyone's like, oh, why am I lonely? And everybody deserves somebody. Even people think that there's no one out there for them. There is someone out there for them. You just have your blindfold on.
That's true. I wanted to ask you, you said that, you know, when they stifled your belief in these things for a little while, then what age did it come back to you?
It actually started in my late 20s.
Oh, okay, so it went a while.
Yeah, it was my first son, after the birth of my first son, that I had my spiritual awakening, and I just slowly got introduced because of the mindset that I was at. I had to be slowly introduced to these things, and then actually after the birth of my second son, that it was like, gates wide open and the party's starting.
Isn't that interesting? It had to do with the birth. I wonder if the hormones played a part in that.
It very well could be, or it was just both of my boys were premature, and so with the second one, like we were just kind of knocking on the door, and it was like all in line with my dad's passing and everything that just really like shoved me through and said, it's time for you to start working.
Now, can you see the fairies?
Yes.
You can? Oh, now that's really cool because I have not seen a fairy except in my third eye.
Okay.
Can you only see them in your third eye, or can you see them visually?
I can see them visually.
Okay, so about how many do we have in the studio tonight?
They're called the audience. That's what they're called, the audience.
No, there are most definitely many different beings here tonight. There are many different ones. Wouldn't you agree? How about for yourself?
Yes. You know, I don't really see fairies or elementals or things, but I do have a strong third eye, so that's where I see it. You know, but I can sense a lot.
Sense
of
their
things.
energy.
Yeah, I can sense it, or I dream a lot of my stuff. You know, I dream a lot of things, or you know, with me, symbolism and synchronicity. If somebody says something and then I hear it and then I see a picture, or I pick up a feather and like, oh, there's my guide. Like,
do you see feathers all over the place? All over the place I have feathers, and sometimes I'll be just hanging out, and like we were sitting here, and I don't know if you guys saw it, one of the itty bitty ones just kind of floated by.
Yeah, I had a lot of feathers in the beginning too myself. They're kind of like validation, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you know, there's a possibility that we may see some of them when we watch the TV show, because a lot of times things are picked up that we don't see. One time when Tom and I were channeling and crossing over the beings from 9/11, there was a spirit who stood right behind us, put his hand over ours, and you could see the spirit behind us that was assisting with the crossing over.
Nice.
Yeah, and other times you can see in the background different beings.
Faces. We've had some stuff.
Yeah. So that might be interesting. We might just find something there.
When I first started visually seeing the fairies, a lot of us see them, but we kind of toss them out, I like to think, because I saw them as, you know, at night, a nice summer night, you go outside and you just sit there and watch the fireflies, and they're just on. And that was in the beginning exactly how I saw them. They would just be like, you know, onesies, and then once I was like, okay, they began to come more and then more, and so it just started off as little specks of light, like fireflies, and it's the middle of the day and I'm seeing fireflies in my office.
But I understand fairies, they come in all shapes and sizes. In fact, I think they can make themselves bigger or smaller, however they desire. You know, they're magical beings. So, I mean, that big fairy who was mocking me could have been this big too, you know, right?
That would still be bigger than you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now, Shelley, you commune a lot with the nature spirits, and you've been connecting with the tree spirits, you were telling me, right?
Yes. Lately I've been going into my local woods, and there's just beautiful energy there. I just love to be out in it. I get tired of all the technology, and so I just said, well, I need to ground, okay? I'm not very grounded. I'm so airy-fairy, and I'm just, all my friends tell me I'm not, you know, locked down straight, because I'm thinking about all other things, you know? And so I was told just to go to trees and connect to trees and hug a tree, and, you know, so I've been having some amazing experiences. So I thought, all right, let me take this a step further. So I just started, you know, touching the tree and asking it, you know, who are you? What are you? So I did bring in a sketch I did. I connected to this tree. It was a giant oak tree. I've been seeing it for a long time, and it was kind of intimidating to go near it, but I leaned up against it and I just got quiet, and I said, you know, who are you? And I heard the name Gerard, and so this is the face I saw that flashed in my third eye.
See if you can zoom in on that a little bit.
Can you bring the camera in on that?
Have you ever seen any of Brian Froud work?
Yes.
That was like the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
So Brian Froud is if you guys remember in the 80s, the movie The Dark Crystal,
Yeah.
he did the imagery for the creatures, and he also has a couple of oracle decks, and yeah, that was the first thing that I thought of.
Right, and so and I just said, well, the feeling I got was a very strong, deep old presence. Wasn't very communicative, but he.
It's a tree.
he's
How much
tree.
do you expect him to say?
Well, wait, some are friendly,
Okay.
but this.
Some are friendly.
Friendly,
I love it, I
friendlier
love
than
it,
this
I
one.
love it.
And so, but he was, the impression he left me with was that, what are you doing to help the planet?
Oh boy.
Yes, he was upset with how we're treating the planet and all the poisons and toxins and things, and just not caring for it. So I felt like, okay, so I better start doing something more, maybe telling more people about this. So I was going to share more of this out with the public eye, you know.
Well, because both these are not attached, but tied to the land, and that's where the elementals would be, out in the woods, out at the beach, you know, in places like that. Wouldn't it be like akin to like being a shaman?
Yes. So a shaman is a person that has 1 foot on this plane and 1 foot into another plane. And so I believe very much that people that have the fairy energy in them like us, definitely. And that's why I think that people say that people that have that fairy energy are not very grounded, because we are always, whether we know it or not, floating around in other areas. That's why our minds are always racing, and we're always.
And all people who are multidimensional, I mean, I wouldn't say that Tom and I are especially fairy people, but I mean, we
Excuse me?
multidimensionally
I
travel.
didn't talk bad about you.
Yeah, right. I didn't mean it that way.
Okay, all right.
And, you know, but that's true. I mean, when you're a metaphysician or a clairvoyant or intuitive, you basically transverse from all kind of dimensions, you know, from where we are now to higher, and heck,
Well,
you
you
can even go
remember
lower.
where we would deal with and see galactics, okay? They're seeing elementals, which are ground-rooted
Right.
spirit imps, you know, so that's what they're doing. See, but a lot of people don't understand this because they don't understand that these things exist. They think it's a product of
Imagination.
Grimm's fairy tales or
Yeah.
something. You know, there's going to be an ogre under the bridge. Might be a wino under the bridge today, but not an ogre. You know.
Well, I believe that that's why people like us are coming out more, and especially, you know, like look at Starbucks. Starbucks had a unicorn.
The little girl thing on the cup.
Yes.
Oh, I
think
missed
it's a-
that. Well,
think it's a
I don't
girl,
go to Starbucks, so I don't know.
They
Don't you
had-
like your $12 coffee?
I don't like their coffee, and I think they're too expensive.
But they have they had a limited edition unicorn frappuccino something, and unicorns are becoming more popular. It's
Very popular,
because that they're really wanting people to know, hey, it's time to wake up. We're here, and like she says, it's time to love the earth and you know, give back. There's
If
going to
people
be
can't
so many changes.
just because
Right.
of their upbringing, educational thing, and the censorship of going this way, and that you see who you are, okay, that you can't see these things because you're blocked. You know, you're going in there with a belief already that they're not there. All I know is that the best times for me is when I'm at the beach or I'm in the woods. That's it. I could give about anything else. I'm there, I'm at peace. The end.
Hey, you know what? I got a tree story. One time I was taking pictures out in my yard, and I was surrounded by different properties that have big trees. And I don't remember what I was trying to capture, but when I got the picture, I couldn't believe it. There was up in this huge tree outside of my property, but real close by, and you could see the tree face in the picture. And it was pretty big.
Wow.
And that was really cool. Now, you know, as you probably know, I've just moved and I'm still unpacking boxes and so forth, but when I find that picture, I am going to show it to you because you will not believe it. It's so clear. It's so clear. And, you know, another thing why I'm thinking about it, what I want to bring up is, you know, most people don't know it, but when really evil people cannot go back to God or to, let's say, heaven, what happens is they're transmuted into earth elements, and thus dirt, plants, trees, water, etc. So some of these trees are actually people who were really evil, but they got the chance to start over, to start a new beginning, and they grew into this tree, and they still have consciousness.
Well, that's weird because the same woods where I go to where I saw Mr. Gerard, I do approach certain trees, and I went up to one, and it was like, get away from me. So not all of them are friendly. So maybe it was one of those.
Well, usually
I don't know.
That might have been one who decided to go back to the dark path again, whereas the guy you were
I don't
talking to was the light, had decided to choose the light
They
path.
said, I would have had a tree that did that to me. You would, next thing you would have heard was, you know, and that would have been the end of that tree.
Yeah.
You know?
I could swear I had a big willow tree in my yard. I would swear, now the willow tree means love, and I could swear that every time I walked by, he sent me love. You know, and I had one of those little tree faces on it that we were talking about earlier, where you
Some
put the
people get a
eyes on
puppy,
the
you know.
mouses, huh?
Some people get a puppy.
Well, no, anyway, the tree faces, I don't need puppies, I got cats. But the that tree face with the big smile, every time I walked by it, I would get a smile. And so it was like the tree was sending me love. It was really a neat
When
feeling.
you find that money tree,
That
let me
is
know.
something that's very fun to do with kids. You know, we're always trying to find something new and exciting to do with kids. And so one thing that I do with my boys is we go for walks and we look for the tree faces, because practically every tree
Has a
does
face.
have a face. You just gotta look really hard to find
yeah.
it.
Oh,
Well, once
that's
you- once
good.
you
What a
have-
little
once you
nice
have-
little
I
game.
love that. Yeah.
Like, I see angels and faces and things all over the clouds. I mean, I'm driving along and I'm having an issue. I'm thinking, blah, blah, blah. When they resolve it for me, they give me a little rainbow. It's like minute, and it's in the middle of a clear blue sky. So I know it's just for me. And the same token for you guys. You go out there, you're looking for these faces on that because you have a psychic ability, a psychic eye. It's easier to see it. You know, the most people will come over and say, it's a tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, there's a squirrel, there's a chipmunk, and there's a rock, but that's a tree.
Right.
You know, I had an interesting experience talking about something that happened that was esoteric phenomena, and I was walking in the woods like you like to do, and I'm walking along, and it was spring, and there was a great big flock of cardinals. The bright red ones,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
love them.
And as I'm walking, it was like they were swept along in my wake. They were like hopping with me. As I'm walking, they're like following me, and it was so cool. And this went on for, I don't know, maybe a block. It was kind of cool, but at the same time kind of freaky, you know? Because remember that movie, The Birds? You know, so, but they were just interesting because it was like they were just swept along. It was neat.
All right.
Really neat.
Yeah. There was one time I went through the woods, and this is really strange. Okay, so I was walking, not really paying attention, and I thought I saw a great blue heron behind the tree, and I walked by and go, wait a second, that wasn't a great blue heron, what was that? So something was looking at me. I just don't know what it was, and I saw it, and it didn't think I would see it.
Well, that's the way that we see most things too, is
Through the-
out of our peripherals. Because when we look directly at things, we try to focus too hard on it, and then our conscious mind gets in the way. Where
Yeah.
when it's in our peripherals, you know, we're a little bit more relaxed about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Is that a marsh that you're at? Is it? 'Cause
Well, there's a stream down there.
a stream.
that-
I'm just saying what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and-
what's unusual about the place is that the trees are kind of twisty, and I don't know, you'd have to all come back there and see what it's like, but there's definitely some special energy. I feel like there's portals there, and something special. Maybe it's anchoring in some positive energy, you know. That's my guess, you know.
If you come out of there and you feel you've been, you know,
I feel
it's
good.
a beneficial place for you, then that's
Yes.
what it is. You know, and if there, you know, there's going to be portholes out in the woods.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
You know, one time I was talking to a friend of mine who's clairvoyant, and And I was telling him, you know, I want to get my house energetically cleaned. And so he said, well, okay. So I called the elementals, right? Next time I see him, he says, and I told him my cats had been freaking out. And he says, that's those elementals. You know, they look like stick figures. He said they look like little stick figures. And I remember seeing something, a drawing once, and they were literally like stick people. Have you seen that? Now, what would you call them? I mean, I don't think you call them stick people.
No. Sometimes that's how to me, that's how some of the fairies show up. They, like how we were talking about Brian Froud, and he has this one deck that's, oh gosh, he has 2 decks, but one of them, and if you look at it, it's like beams of light that can look just like the stick people, and to me, sometimes
So
that's
you're seeing
how
them
fairy,
energetically.
come
You're not
through.
seeing him as an actual like toothpick type of guy.
Well, my cats did not like them. They were freaking out.
Put yourself in that place. They're
I
saying,
know.
what is this?
They're probably bigger than they are.
Yeah, well, it could be. What about ogres? Is there any
Ogres?
truth to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the thing that I love, and I don't know about you, but when people come to me and they're like, "Oh, Michelle, there's a negative being in my house. It does da 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 da," and I'll sit and I'll, you know, we have the energy of our home around us, and I'll tap into the energy and I'll see what's going on, and it's not always, people think that if it's not ghosts or angels, it's negative. Kind of like the movie Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro. That Pan, those beings are around us, and they're not always negative. They're just,
Ground spirits?
yes, earthbound spirits that are here protecting things, and you must have made them mad.
Some people call them ground angels, and you know, so that's probably what they are. Some type of a guardian angel that's down here to be beneficial to mankind. There's billions and billions and trillions. You can't even count them. The beach don't have enough grains of sand to match the amount of angels and stars and everything else there is. So they're ground angels, basically.
There's also salamanders, which are of the sea. And I've seen King Neptune, and so did a friend of mine, where he actually came up out of the ocean when we were doing earthwork and sending energy to the water to cleanse it and so forth. And he came up to see who was doing it. It kind of scared us, though. Remember in the beginning when we were clearing the room, and all of a sudden this huge voice came, and we said, "That God, that could have been God."
Yeah.
Well, that's how he came up, like, "Whoa," you know.
Came up out of the, sure
He
wasn't,
came up to see who it was.
sure wasn't a nuclear sub.
Hey, he had his trident, honey, and his
Okay.
long hair. He was huge, too.
Steroids do that.
No steroids.
You hold your rocks, I see.
I'm holding my rocks because remember we cleared the space.
I know.
Now you have a picture there. What's that?
Okay, this is just, I brought this in. This is a fairy ring. I just brought a picture, and if people
Christine,
were.
bring it in, please.
Now it looks like it could just be natural. What are they, mushrooms?
Mushrooms, yeah.
That ain't natural.
No,
that
that
is
is
not-
not natural.
Yeah.
So,
That's a Stonehenge and mushrooms.
right, so that's, and Michelle probably knows more about than I do, but it's just a place where fairies,
is this?
especially, I don't know, I just, I found it on the internet. I just,
Oh, okay.
but I can go, if you look in the woods, you'll see rings. It's usually a portal or where fairies' energy can come through, where they entertain or dance, or the legend is they may take people through it. So I don't disturb them. Let's put it that way.
No. When I became more in tuned with my elemental side, that's one of the things that they say is you can tell if you have fairies in your house or around you, because those will pop up. And don't you know, sure enough, mine wasn't that big, but it was definitely like the size of a kitchen table that popped up in my backyard.
Cool.
And
Given your background, nationality-wise, and
Yeah.
everything else, and being that I don't want to bring it up because you see it all over TV, Stonehenge with the UFOs and crop circles and all of this stuff, but to you as a person who deals with elementals, and I'll pose this to you too, what's your feeling on that? Is that to be what they say? It's a ritualistic spot. It's a spot that does the winter solstice, or is it something that is of earthbound elementals?
So you're asking if is Stonehenge more alien or more Earth?
Or more earthbound? Because what those people who supposedly were the religious people of that time were basically Druids. And Druids are earthbound souls, nature-loving people, you know, and that's what I'm thinking. And I'm not saying that it couldn't possibly be something, you know, alien or UFO type thing, but it makes more sense to me as a person who loves the outdoors, loves nature, loves that, and that it would be something more along the lines, and they're like kind of like barking up the wrong tree with that, because these circles appear all over the world.
Yeah.
It's not only there,
No.
and some of them are way larger. You know,
Like, what about the ones that are, is it the Bermuda Triangle or somewhere near them where it's under the water and there's like the monkey and there's, but I believe it's both, to be honest with you. I believe that, yes, I believe in aliens and I do believe that they come here the same as anything. You know, we believe what our mind allows us to believe. And so I believe that it is both of them. It is a place for
It's
the
a
aliens
combination
to
of it,
know where to go and for
They use it as
everybody
a
to
marker.
gather.
But you know, because it's all over the world, and the markings on the actual stone, there's some markings, engravings, and it's very similar all around the world in different places. And a lot of these things are on the same longitude, latitude line going around the world. You find it here, you find it there, you find it there, you find it there. It's like through the United States, I think it's the 30-something, it's a little bit.
32nd or 34th
Yeah.
parallel or something.
That whole parallel across the United States is the hottest hotbed for UFO activity.
They're
But
the
then
ley
again, it
lines.
goes through,
lines, yeah.
it goes through Area 51, 52, and all the other numbers they got.
A lot of these things where they pop up, they're on ley lines, which are the power lines. And so they create these monuments to also to amplify the energies
Well,
with
they've all
whatever
come
they're
back
doing.
online now with the new ascension. They've come back online. You know,
Yes,
the pyramids,
yes.
everything. Pyramids all over the world.
Yeah.
People, you know, they see a dirt mound and now they're starting to realize that underneath that was a structure.
I was there to witness when the pyramids became alive again.
What?
When I was, yeah. I was actually, let's see, when was that? It was 2011, and I was there on a tour with a bunch of other folks, and we were in a hotel across the street from the pyramids. Now, the pyramids, they look like it was across the street, but I mean, if you walked, it was probably a couple miles, but they're
couple?
so huge that they look like you could reach out and touch them. And I was out there I was going out to do a pre-dawn check because we were leaving very early to see if I need a sweater. It gets cold in the desert when it's not,
In the morning, yeah.
you know, midday. And I could see the light go up from the pyramid, and then there was a grounding light that came down. And that was when, after the grounding light came down, which was huge, it probably would have covered a giant highway. And then as I'm watching it, then after that had lit, that's when the energy came up and lit the pyramid, and there was energy going up through the pyramid too.
Well, they say it's supposed to be like a large, besides being an energy source, like a large battery. And you know, and there's a lot of conjecture as to what it could be used for. In my idea, you know, looking at it, I would say that these pyramids are from another time and from another race that placed them here to keep us protected, so we would grow into a society and eventually come to the process of ascension on our own as society becomes more intelligent, okay? And that these pyramids now are enacted, okay, because they were keeping asteroids, things from destroying the Earth.
And you know, they are all able to connect all, and this is
Yes.
what I know. I mean, I don't know if scientists know it, but all the pyramids connect on the different ley lines all throughout the world. And I understand they
Well,
even
Tesla-
discovered pyramids on the moon and the Mars too, right?
That Mars they showed up on, and on the moon there's supposed to be some structures. Tesla was doing that, figuring out that these things are energy sources around the entire Earth, and he wanted to tap into the Earth's source. It's like a band that goes around the world. He wanted to tap into that so it would be all free power. you know, for everybody, without
0
having to
point.
need wires, without having to need anything. You just,
Right.
you know, use it. You know, so there's a lot of conjecture about what happened to him too. You know, they're trying to say that the actual Nazis assassinated him.
And then the government came in and took
our
all his
government took
paper.
all his
Yeah,
paperwork.
all his patents and so forth.
Yeah.
But you know, I got to tell you about my fairy story, because we have to come back to topic always, right? We bounce around, you know, come back to topic. One time, some people I meet with and we do some earthwork, were together. And I was adjusting my chair because I was kind of stuck in a tile. You know how the tiles
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
little where
yeah.
the grout is? And one of my friends, and she's real psychic, she goes, stop, stop, why, what? You know, and she says, there's little fairies under your chair, the 4 fairy kings, and they're hiding there to keep, so you can keep them safe from your cats. So, and meanwhile, I'm still not situated, so I'm trying to get my chair situated. And so she goes, go over in the corner over there, you'll be safe over there away from her, right? So anyway, so they come to help, I guess, to plan and strategize what their part is going to be in doing some of the earthwork healing. And I was told that 3 of the fairy kings are here tonight.
Number the 4th.
The 4th one, he's...
Mowing?
I don't know what he's doing, but he's not here. He's not here tonight. And so we actually have 3 of the fairy kings here, as well as I know we have Jesus is here, because I requested him, Father God, Holy Spirit,
Blessed
Archangel
Mother's here
Michael.
too. She's right here.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Anybody else sense anybody else here? I mean, of course, we know our angels and guides are here,
Okay.
but you know who's never going to show up.
Now
Never
that
know.
we've been discussing elementals and things, I want to ask some of our audience members, if they're up to it, to come up and ask a question of our featured guest.
If they know, if they have a question, that is.
Okay. Who has a question? Who's our first contestant? Jeez, look at these
Nobody
people.
wants to
Nobody has
get
a
up
question.
and be on public camera. I guess that's all right. We got plenty to talk about.
Grace, come up here.
No, thank you. I'm shy.
Okay.
So what else, Shelley? You brought all kind of stories there.
Oh, yeah, well, okay. So, all right, here's another strange story. Okay, so when I first started getting into spiritual work and connecting to the earth, I decided to, I was in the James River in Virginia, and I asked the spirit of the river for a stone. So I plunged my hand down, and I got this stone. Okay, so now if you look at it really close, it looks like an Indian foot.
Yeah.
Do you see the bottom? And then there's 4 sides, okay? Even from the way this is, it's a right foot, okay? It looks like a right foot. Even the ankle goes inside, and like this, that's the way my foot goes. And because it's right, I interpret right as the male side and left as female. So I knew this was a male stone. So I have this book. It's by Jamie Sams. She's a Native American, and it's called Council Fires Were Here Before Ours. And it talks about the 7 worlds. We're actually transitioning into the 5th world of peace. But in the back, they've got all kinds of symbols here. If you find a rock, okay, look for different symbols. So now this rock's very, very smooth. So I had to look, but in the very back, you can see a mark. And the closest it came to was this symbol here, and it says it's the talent of dependability to teach self-esteem. And I was blown away because that's exactly what I needed, because I didn't have a whole lot of self-esteem. Later on, I started to connect to it. I wanted to communicate with it. So I started to sit with it, and then I had a dream. And in the dream, I went down into another river. I was diving, and I found this telescope. It was from a World War II ship, and I brought it up, and it matched the stone perfectly, and I drew a picture of it here. This is the dream, recorded dream, and that's the telescope. Okay, so since I interpret dreams a lot for people, what it meant to me was that I had to look deeper within myself, and that this rock would help me to do it. So I also am a pipe carrier. I do pipe prayers with the Native American pipe. So the name for him is One Who Knows, and he always sits with me in my ceremonies. So that's how deep I go with this nature stuff.
Yeah, people don't realize that. I mean, like we were talking about the elementals, that stone is a being. You know, I mean, people don't realize that the crystals, this crystal in my hand is a being. You know, I mean, and they're elementals.
these?
And look at Tommy's, all his crystals. You know, and we people don't realize that. And so you start to, when you become intuitive or open up to your gifts, because believe me, everybody is born with them. Now it's time to hone them. And the more you hone them, the more they grow. And so, you know, there's so much more magical things than your imagination can even imagine, you know, so you have to open up to the wonders of it. It's just simply magical. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I very much agree. You know, it's becoming very popular to purchase stones and to have different stones. I have a necklace, I've got earrings, you know, I've got stones in places we don't need to talk about, but
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Now
Wait a
we're
minute.
curious. Now
You
we're
crossed the
curious.
line here. Here was the line, you're in my lap. All right. Go ahead.
no, but it's about, you know, they all have energy, they all have an aura, and when we invite them into our energy and into our aura, you know, what they do is they help to uplift us, they help to strengthen us, they help us to see things that we don't normally see. And when people carry stones and they're like, oh, well, this stone isn't working for me, it's really because we're just not, again, we've got blindfolds on, and all we want to do is, okay, well, I bought this stone because I won $1 million, and I only won
okay.
$1 off of a $2 scratch off, so I'm in the negative. Like, it doesn't necessarily work that way. You
Oh my
really have
God.
to open yourself up.
Yeah,
Let me tell you, you hear some stories
I
from
believe
people.
it. Well, you know, I remember when I was first working with crystals, and I was running some workshops, and I was doing very specific heavy work. And so now there may have been 15 crystals in front of me, and I was scanning them to see which ones volunteered to work with me. You'd be surprised, only 4 of them popped up. I mean, the others said, no, that's deep stuff. I'm not going there, you know. So they honestly, they know. They choose if they want to work with you, and if they don't like you, if you purchase a crystal and you're using it, they may disappear, because they have that
Yes.
ability to just, whoop.
Oh,
Be
very
gone.
much
Don't
so.
go and buy the stones because you think it's trendy or you think this is a magical, cool thing that we can do and you feel you can't do. It's baloney. You can do, all right? And you can connect with the stones, but you let the stone choose you. You know, when you go to the shows or you go to places where they sell them, I mean, I was in the mall the other day and they had tables set up and the people had stones and things there and things around. And I walked by there and I hear the voice say to me, goes, there is nothing there you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just telling you, forget it.
I hear
You know?
that voice all the time.
That's what I'm saying. I go into Barnes and Nobles, I go into the section, metaphysical section, I hear the same thing. Nothing here you need to know. Go. So I
Yeah.
go downstairs, get a magazine, have a coffee.
And then, on the other hand, there's me driving down the road, and my car wheel goes, "Eh." Okay, there's Family Dollar. There must be something there I need. I go in
There was the Burger King right next door.
No. But that was my mother steering me there because they had the perfect pink sweater, which she was the pink lady. She always wore pink. Anyway, but I swear that car drove itself. We have someone here with a question.
Well, no, I have a tree story, actually, since you were
Okay.
telling tree stories. Several years ago, I was with a friend. I forget where we were going, but we parked the car. It was a warm, sunny day, and parked the car, and it was next to this tree. And I happened to look up at the tree, and I saw that it was kind of, the leaves were kind of sparse. So I turned around to the friend I was with. I said, oh, look at this poor tree. I said, it doesn't have enough leaves to make a lot of shade. And then we went about our business. A couple of days later, I had a guest at my house who was going to be a guest on my show, Spiritual Exploration. And she was a Native American girl called Willow Earth.
Oh, I know Willow.
You know Willow?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so Willow and I are sitting in my kitchen. She's giving me a reading. And she says to me, you were talking to a tree the other day? So I wasn't talking to the tree. I was talking about the tree, and I was saying that the tree, you know, didn't have a lot of leaves, and I felt bad for the tree. She said to me, "Well, the tree says that it's thanking you for your concern."
Oh,
So, and that really amazed
was
me because, I
sweet.
mean, she had no way of knowing I was near a
of
tree.
course.
You know, so I do believe that even trees, they know what's going on, they have feelings, and they can communicate.
They're sentient beings, just like we are.
I've actually had that happen in a reading where
yeah?
somebody's. I was sitting down and we're like going along, and then all of a sudden I just started to get this message, and so when you are doing readings, for me, Michelle can't be here. She has to
Right.
step back and spirit comes forward, and I do it. I don't question what comes through. I just let it fall out my mouth. And somebody's houseplant was coming through.
Oh, my.
She had just
Thank you,
she
Christine.
had just transferred it from water into soil, and I do not remember what the message was,
Was it
but
thankful?
yes, it was, and it had a special message for her.
How cute.
But that happens. Have you had something like that happen?
Yeah, I've had different times when somebody just cut the grass, and I swear I heard the grass grumbling and upset.
Really?
Well, how
Well,
do
I
you feel
believe
if somebody
it. I
came
believe
over to
it.
you with a mower
They were
and
not
gave
happy.
gave you a
Right,
flat top?
they were like they
Oh, I
liked
would be
growing like
upset.
this, and they were all
It
upset.
happened to me.
I had a guy cutting my willow tree one day because it had gotten so big and so wild, and I swear that thing was lashing him. Boom! With its, you know, their great big long vines, and he was trying to cut it. They kept swatting him.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't want a haircut.
No. And there was the same woods I go to. There was another section I used to walk up. I used to love it. It was just a dirt path, and I loved the look of the trees and everything. And one day I went back and they had cut the trees down. It still makes me upset. I was just so angry and upset they cut all the trees, and I could feel it.
Did they leave the
The-
stumps?
Some were there, but so what I did is I went back later and I used a little tobacco and I made prayer ties, and I went back and blessed and sent, hung it up in the other trees. So
When
they were very
when
upset.
They do that, are they alive still if they leave the trunk in the ground? Or do they just?
No, they stay for a while. Like they'll stay for a little bit. They won't go right away. I'm not saying I know some of these things, but I read that trees at night, the spirit will actually walk around. It can leave the tree, but it won't during the day because it
Yes.
needs to be there. And it's very. I remember one time I was leaning against a
Just a
tree,
sentinel.
and it was
Yeah,
springtime.
they're sentient
And it
beings.
was saying, "Oh, I just love the light. I love the light." That's all I kept saying. It was just so happy that the light from the sunlight was
Now, with this season of winter that we're in right now, do you find that the trees are just a little bit, like I find that they get grumpy if I come and try to talk to them? They're just kind of
Yes.
like, "Oh, what do you want?"
Yep.
And I'm like,
They're like the
Forget.
bear sleeping. They don't want to
They are.
stop.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah,
Now-
they're busy
Now,
sleeping.
Tommy, you just said that you heard something. What did you tell them?
But
I heard them say sentinel. So
That when
the trees are a sentinel, a sentinel. They're some type of protective
Yes.
earth sentinel.
When they
Yep.
were walking around, he was getting that. Oh, but it's a little bit off topic, but I got to tell you, remember Tom and I were on the phone the other day, and I was telling him how I needed to go because I needed to work on my cats. And what happened?
You tell.
Well, you're the one who heard it.
Well,
Okay, he don't want to sound silly or make girlish sounds, but the cats were going meow, 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 meow.
sound like the
meow, meow,
commercial.
"Do you have more than one cat?"
Oh yeah, and they were like telling him, "Tell her we want her to work on us now. When she go to work on us?"
Oh,
Stop
your
working
cats
on
were
everybody
saying-
else.
Is there somebody that has a lot of cats here that their cats tend to go crazy a lot?
Anybody out there?
Well, my cats go crazy a lot, but I mean,
What you have? You have 5,
6.
6?
Do you? Okay, because Just you have a lot of elementals in your house, just so you know, and they love playing with your cats.
I believe it because sometimes I'll see the cats running and I'll say, "Hey, stop chasing that cat! Who's chasing that cat? Stop it!"
Though they really enjoy playing with your cats. Like it's like your cats and them have. It's like they're very connected. And so they have a lot of like play dates and so forth.
My cats are the guardians of the underworld, so.
Yeah, so they.
Well, you know, it's funny because I asked God for cleaning teams in all worlds, all time, all space, you know, all dimensions, so forth, so that my house and all these areas are kept clean of negative energies. And so I know they're there, but, you know, they don't bother me. But sometimes, you know what they do? They'll take things. And I know I put that there, and I turn my back and it's gone. And I'll say, yeah, I'll say, bring me my crystal back right now. And I'll turn my head and boom, it'll be back.
Sitting on my kitchen table, having a cup of coffee, and I put my phone here. Got up, went to the coffee pot to get more, turned around, came back. My book was there, my phone was gone. So I'm saying, all right, I'm looking in the refrigerator. Maybe I had it in my hand, I put it in the refrigerator when I got the milk. I'm looking all around, I can't find it. I go back by the coffee pot, I turn around, I come back to the table, the phone's right there.
Yeah,
Now,
Wait a
you know,
minute.
I'm not going to say it was elementals that did that, but I can tell you right now, I definitely know time shifted, it came back.
I think the best part about that story was you looked for your phone in the refrigerator.
Yes.
just in case.
Because I know those little guys, they have a sense of humor. You know?
Well, you know, I know one time my husband's mother, she was absent-mindedly cleaning the kitchen. She meant to put the juice back in the refrigerator, put the coffee back in the refrigerator. You're looking for the coffee and it's hot and it's in the refrigerator. So that's easy to do, you know, if you're not thinking and you're just on automatic. But, you know, sometimes we really do have fairies and elementals in the house, right?
You ever had like a classroom out in the woods like that? You know, out there with students and
Well, that's where I was gearing up to, was to maybe invite people out to connect with trees and nature and find their own vision quest, so to speak, and help them to learn how to connect.
because we are in the process of helping Mother Gaia
Yes.
purge herself of all the impurities that mankind has done with his technology. All right, and all the things that we have done to this world, and just in the chase of having a better life on this planet. But by the same token, what we've learned technology-wise, we have poisoned our planet. You know, and we're working on that now. And I'm sure there's other. As a matter of fact, I meant to tell you that.
What?
Somebody had said something about these little dots that show up. It was on an acid thing. They were showing little like sparkles. It was like, you ever see Chinese checkers? Well, that's what the world looked like. Had these little sparkles that were going around. And then I was looking at that, and the first thing I heard was that's us and people like us all around the entire world doing this work. All right? And some of the people are not even awakened yet to know that they are doing it. But
Maybe
they're so attached to the land.
when they astral travel at night, they're doing this stuff, you know, even if they don't remember in the morning. I do know that I was told that I astral travel quite often. You know, I don't stay in my body that often at night, so
Why
we're
not?
doing
When she goes
stuff.
on the other side, she's Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. So,
Wouldn't I love that? You know, imagine she
Yeah, I would
died
love
what?
that too.
I think she was what? How old? 29 or 33? Or
30
she,
something.
36,
Yeah,
I think she was.
she died in her prime. You know what I mean? She's young and beautiful.
I know, she died of Kennedy-itis.
Yeah.
I just put it out there.
But one thing that I'm just kind of being told to tell people is that, you know, anybody can invite the fairies and the elementals into their house. Please don't be scared to do it. Even if you live in an apartment complex in the middle of New York City, all you need is either some plants by the window, how we have this beautiful angel that is sparkling all over the place. They have like little things that you can hang in your window, or give yourself a space where you could put like a little house with whatever, call it a fairy altar or a fairy garden that you could put outside. But, you know, so many people say to me, well, Michelle, I don't think that I have fairies around me, or there aren't any around me. Yes, they are, but please invite them in, because yes, they are mischievous, but they can be fun. They're only going to be super malevolent to you if you are somebody that goes to McDonald's and buys, you know, whatever, and then throws your meal out the window. Yeah, they're not going to be nice to you because you are not being nice to them, but most definitely invite them in.
Yeah, because basically what they're saying is you're trashing our world, you know? And they take serious
Note to
offense to
self,
that.
do not throw McDonald's out the window. Okay. Throw McDonald's in the garbage. Okay.
Oh, God.
But then again, you got to keep in mind, where do you think that trash is going anyway? It's going to go to a landfill, and there's elementals there too. You know, so. How much time we got?
7 minutes, 8 minutes.
Don't go by that.
5
5 and a half. Okay, we got 5.5 minutes. Is there anybody who has a question? All right, then come up and ask it.
Yeah, because pretty soon we got
Don't worry about it. It took you 45 minutes to think of it.
Actually, it's been on my mind.
Okay.
I'm really worried about Staten Island, really. You know, I was like just thinking once, and, you know, I said, I never hear anybody laugh anymore, you know? I don't know, is there any, what is
I
going
have
on?
kind of noticed that too. I mean, really, when you look around, do you see many happy people?
No.
I mean, if you look out in the general populace, they aren't. And yet, amongst my metaphysical friends, we have a ball. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's technology or if it's just the energy.
It has something to do with it. Staten Island is such a small
Frequency.
microcosm of the city. It is. You know,
But I think it's everywhere.
yeah, but this is really, you know, and everybody's so busy being so important that they lose out on that. You know what I mean? The simple friendship and brotherhood and stuff like that, they should go on. It doesn't. I see it every day. You
Well,
know,
maybe you
on
could
the
tell the
sign.
fairies, not that it's a little hard to believe. You know, I mean, you know, but we do need some kind of help here. We really do. The stress limit, I could actually feel the stress limit that's going on in Staten Island. And actually, the people are from Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn, we used to be, you know, more neighborly. My neighbors never say hello to me, not even Merry Christmas.
Huh.
So may I ask, do you say hello and Merry
Yeah,
Christmas to
I
your
say hello.
neighbors?
Oh, yeah, I do. I don't care if they don't answer me. They don't even answer me.
You know, when you go in the supermarket, even if you don't see people smiling, I look at them and I smile,
Yeah.
and then they smile back. And you know what
Yeah.
the funniest thing happened? A man looked at me and he said, "Gee, thank you for that smile." Maybe nobody's talked to him. Maybe he lives alone, lonely
think
old
it's
man,
just a
and he
stressful
needed
world.
that smile.
Yeah,
It is. It's a stressful
There's a lot.
world.
I read a lot of conspiracy stuff. So
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to open that can of worms because I like to explore and see what's really going on. Yes, there probably is all types of black magic and what have you projected as, because we're starting to wake up and they don't want us to. Okay.
That's right.
Well,
if we start to just open up our own hearts and just be friendly, be loving.
I'm very friendly.
Yeah, we just have to and asking for help.
And I don't care if they don't answer me back.
Right.
But no, I noticed it too. You're not alone. I noticed it too. I often say to my husband, "Gee, do you ever see this person laugh?" You know
Right,
what I mean? Or
right.
Yeah.
people going around smiling.
I
I
tell you what,
noticed it.
my biggest peeve on this island is this. The people on this island, that when they're driving behind the wheel, are
Yeah.
the most discourteous people I have ever seen in my
Right.
entire life.
Where do you get to
Okay?
France?
No, well,
Or
you know,
Italy,
that's-
oh my God.
This French and the Italians, the way they drive, forget about it.
They're maniacs, honey.
But
let
I'm
me
just
tell
saying,
you.
on this island here, you stop and you let somebody go, and they don't even acknowledge you were kind to them.
Yeah.
You know, where is that? I mean, what's that about? You know, are you just too damn good that you
Say
can
a-
say thank you
say
and
a
please?
prayer
and
for
No,
us.
no,
welcome?
you know what I
Yeah.
actually think's happening here, Tommy? I mean, okay, you know how everybody feel, the metaphysicians and the clairvoyants, they feel terrible sometimes, and yet at the same time, we know how to ground ourselves. We know how to clear ourselves. So we're going around happy as can be, but the other people don't know how to do that. They don't have any
Okay.
clue. So we're lucky that we know how to.
Well, we
you
have
know?
too many minutes.
We have to teach that.
We
Yes,
have- we-
that's,
right.
we have to teach that.
We have 2 minutes left, so we are going to do our usual spiel at the end of the show. I'd like to thank our guests.
Beautiful Michelle.
Michelle,
Bassett.
I was about to call you Michael. Don't ask me why. All right, Michelle and Shelley for
same
coming.
name almost.
Yes, that's right. It is close. And my sis here.
Yeah,
And,
you missed me the past couple of shows.
Yes,
didn't
2
you?
shows she wasn't here. She played hooky. She didn't bring in a note from the doctor, so she's on my poo-poo list. Anyway, I'd like to thank our
Confirmation.
sponsors, Antonio's Pork Store in Tottenville and Aardvark Pest Control in Great Kills. And what?
Oh.
Oh, our boys in the booth, they're waving to
Oh,
me.
okay. Thank the crew.
Our boys in the
Hi.
booth, Dan and Brian and whoever else may be in there.
Christine.
They get so cranky when you don't mention them.
Yeah.
Okay, and Christine
And
Bri-
Brian and Gil
Richie
and our audience
and Gil.
here.
My God, what's going on? I'm having like a brain freeze today. Okay.
Well, listen, next show, I want to tell you we're going to be talking about some interesting things too, so don't miss us next month. Right?
All right, you all come back now here.
Yeah, come back now here.
Okay.
All right, so
What do we
I
got
guess
now,
it's
Chris?
time to say
Wind it
goodnight.
down, wind it down.
And thanks for coming, and we're going to see you again, and thank you, our audience.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Wave, everybody. Music maestro. He's a little slow today.
I know.